What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Hill Shadows podcast. We are on episode number 28. I'm your host, Jeremiah, and with me tonight is my wife, Ashley. How are you guys doing? Hopefully, you're having a wonderful week and an even better weekend. If you enjoy things of the paranormal nature, be sure to hit that subscribe button. That's the kind of content we cover here. Last week, we did a little episode on alien abductions and UFOs, that kind of phenomenon. And we wanted to continue along that aspect, and we kind of went off, got distracted a bit from the subject matter. I guess it's easy to do. There's so much out there. I came up with a couple little stories, and it's just kind of unexplainable things. I'll let you guys be the judge of what you think it could be. I have a couple stories I want to get into.
Mine are alien, all of them.
I thought you said it wasn't alien.
No, I said mine are.
So she stayed on track. I guess
Yeah,
I got
I
a little off
like
track.
it.
But mine could be in that realm as well. Hopefully you guys are ready for Christmas and you've got all your shopping done and you're not having to go get caught up in the craziness out there. I think it's died down a little over the last few years because of the online ordering and everything. I haven't been out there. I'm not out there, so I don't know. But if you do, gotta get
It's
caught
just
up
because
in
we
stuff.
did online ordering this
We did,
year.
yeah. Normally I'm the
Haven't had
Christmas Eve shop.
fight the chaos.
But yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good Christmas holiday season. Stay safe out there, and keep love in your heart during the season. That's what I'll say. A lot of people don't have that. I'll go ahead and get into one of my stories because my phone is just limited on juice. So the first one I got is from Reddit. I always search Reddit, even though it's hard to come up with new things on Reddit. But this one, I'll go ahead and get into. This one is called Unexplainable Moment in North Central Pennsylvania Woods. If any of you guys live in the Pennsylvania area, maybe you got some stories or, can comment about this story. And if you have something you want to share with us, you guys can email us anytime at hillshadowsky@yahoo.com. I'm going to get into this story, and then we'll let Ashley get into what she's got for us. I was hunting for black bear one day back in the early 2000s. The area I was hunting was northern Clinton County. My ex-brother-in-law and I enjoyed the area and spent many a season scouting and hunting these lands. This part of the country is filled with long hollows, steep inclines, and hard-to-access trails. We both like to do our own thing and hunt separate terrain. I would often dive down into the hollows while he scoured the ridgelines, hoping to get a shot at whatever I pushed over the tops. We both carried pretty bumped up two-way radios to keep a general idea where we were, although often the terrain made it too difficult for good reception. This day was the typical Pennsylvania bear season day. It was on the Wednesday of the season, third and last day of the brief season it was back then. The woods were quiet with no distant whooping or yodeling of various opening day camps pushing drives through the woods. Let me find my spot because I screenshot all this stuff. When we separated to begin our hunt and continued on throughout the day, I spent the day still hunting down this long hollow south of a little town in north central Clinton County with the idea of meeting my brother-in-law at the top of a ridge at the agreed time of 4 p.m., giving us plenty of time to hike together the few miles back to his truck. After hunting all day, I found an old game trail that appeared to meander its way back up to the ridgeline towards where I knew he would be waiting for me. After close to an hour, maybe around 3:30, I made my way 2/3 of the way to the top, stopping often, scouring the slope for that jet black fur of a roaming bear. Along the trail, I came upon a long ago used fire ring. It was very rudimentary in its build and appeared to be used only once. The ring's rocks were covered in lichen and only had the faintest of tracks of black from a long ago fire. Faintest of traces of black from a long ago fire. I found it odd that a fire ring would be here, considering the steepness of the slope, but it was a very small, somewhat leveled ledge. There, I figured I would sit and eat the rest of my packed food, and sit still, hoping to catch a final chance to see a bear. All the while, it felt odd, somewhat unwelcoming, like I shouldn't be there. I stood up, and I heard my name called loudly. It didn't really sound like it was behind me, rather all around in my head. Just as I was going to turn around, my rifle was slapped off of my shoulder. I felt the force, heard the sound of something slap against the wood of the stock, and crouched quickly to save my gun from dashing into the rocks at my feet. I grabbed it in the nick of time and quickly turned around with a mouthful of motherfuckers for whom I thought was going to be my brother-in-law jacking with me. There was nobody at all there. Absolutely no way could anyone had rushed off without me either seeing or hearing them. I felt a sick feeling in my churning stomach, chills throughout my body, muttered a few Hail Marys and sped up to the top of the ridge, met my bud, and quietly we hiked our way out of the woods to his truck in the spreading dark of evening. This has bothered me for years, and I have not been back in those particular woods since. Someday I hope to. And that's all from my first story. Like I said, you don't really know what it is. Clearly, this guy had the crap scared out of him. And, I have my theories of what it might be. What do you guys think it could be? I'd love to hear what you guys think. I know people say some cryptids may cloak or be able to perhaps hide themselves in a way where they can be right there but not be right there.
Right? Like that one, what was it, Dr. Maccabee?
Right.
His wife, when she was out, like, deer hunting. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
there was, like, that.
The predator, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
so she could almost see, like it moved over, grabbing a tree next to it.
Right. She actually snapped a photograph of that. If I
Hairs
can
are
find it,
visible in
I
that.
will put it up right here somewhere, and you guys can check that out. Also, they cover that in Missing 411 The Hunted. If you guys want to check that out, it's a documentary film by David Paulides about
I want to see the new
people
one.
who go missing under a set criteria of strange phenomena that happens.
2 days and the new one comes out.
Now, he says a lot of disappearances at national parks are covered up and they're highly secretive. And a lot of these take place in clusters around these big national parks. And some people claim maybe the government shut off these lands in order for these things to be able to live here, maybe even feral humans and things like that.
It would make sense to me.
There are undoubtedly a lot of things they don't tell us about. One thing that I want to cover in an upcoming episode, I almost wanted to tonight, was things that the government are hiding from their citizens, people like you and me, such as, what kind of power were we talking about? What was that?
Are you talking about zero
energy,
force?
Was it zero energy?
I think so.
Anyway, the government has developed ways of producing
Supposedly.
power as they have. They have. Which, don't require burning any fossil fuels or messing up our environment. But they don't want us to do it because they can't get money off of us if we don't have to pay them for electricity. They like when the electric bill's late. They like that. Now, my next story kind of touches on these national park disappearances, maybe a little bit. I'll let you guys be the judge of it again. Do you want to go on and do yours first?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
I will let
Because
Ashley,
I need to, find mine in between.
My phone is not depleted to the point I thought it would be at this point, so we'll let her go ahead.
Oh, okay. It's not going to take long.
And hopefully the camera will last through. If it don't, you will be able to hear us.
Got a lot of battery?
It should. Yeah, it should be okay. I had it charging for like an hour, so.
Okay. So this actually happened when was this wrote? At this point, 46 years ago. And a lot of people may have heard of it. I hadn't. I don't think I was familiar with this case either. It's Calvin Parker. The Calvin Parker abduction.
I haven't heard of this.
So, let me find where his encounter actually starts. Sorry, this is an article that was wrote, like an updated article wrote about it.
Mm-hmm. I will also put any links down in the description if you guys want to check any
I've got them all wrote down to make sure.
Sources out for anything we talk about here.
Okay, I got it. It was October 11th, 1973. Parker said, "We'd gotten off work that day, and a friend of mine, he and I went fishing. The old abandoned shipyard. They had a little pier out front, and we were on that pier. I'm going to guess it was about 6 o'clock in the evening. It had just started getting dark, but it was kind of a bright moon. Parker said he noticed blue light reflecting off the water, and his initial thought was law enforcement officers had arrived to tell the two fishermen they needed to leave the property.
Right, that would have been my initial thought, I think.
However, when Parker looked up, he realized the light was coming from a craft like nothing he'd ever seen. A big light came out of the clouds, Parker said. It was a blinding light. It was hard to tell with the light so bright, but it looked like it was shaped like a football. I would say, just estimating, it was about 80 foot. It made very little sound. It was just a hissing noise. Then the situation became more surreal. Parker said 3 legless creatures floated from the craft. One had no neck with gray wrinkled skin. Another had a neck and appeared more feminine. Parker described their hands as being shaped like mittens or claws.
Legless creatures?
Yeah.
How'd they get around?
They floated.
They floated?
That's what he said.
Wow.
When one of the creatures put one of its claws around his arm, Parker said he was terrified. But then another feeling came over his body. I think they injected us with something to calm us down, Parker said. I was kind of numb and just went along with the program.
Where did he see these at? I'm sorry.
I believe it's in Mississippi.
Okay. This was outside he seen these?
Yeah, they were fishing at a shipyard, like an abandoned shipyard.
Okay.
Parker said the creatures floated, he and Hickson, his friend, into the craft and performed physical examinations on the two. Then they were taken back to the bank of the river.
Wow, that's an interesting story.
Parker said he didn't want to tell anyone what happened, but Hickson convinced him otherwise. The two contacted Kessler Air Force Base, where they were told they should call authorities. So they contacted the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. So yeah, Jackson, Mississippi.
Wow.
According to Parker, the two passed sobriety tests as well as polygraph tests. Parker said he also passed a voice stress test. The ordeal seemed like it was over, but for Parker, it was just beginning. The news spread worldwide, and according to news reports, Hickson didn't shy away from the attention. Parker, on the other hand, didn't want it. In the years that followed, he said he changed jobs and relocated to other towns when people realized who he was. It was just something he didn't want to discuss. It goes on a little more, but the story is,
Oh, 0 point energy. It just hit me.
That's right, yeah. 0 point energy. Yeah.
That was a cool story.
Yeah, I thought so.
I've never heard anything legless floating. I've never heard about floating aliens. That's
with little claw hands.
If you guys have ever heard anything like this, please comment and let us know. The more information you have, the more the bigger picture you see. I know it's a lot, and it comes from a lot of different places, and a lot of it might be nonsense, but you gotta grain out the bits of truth that's in all these stories.
So a lot of scientists will say that alien abductions are really just sleep paralysis or lucid dreaming. But how do you explain ones that, like, you're awake, you're with, what do you call that? What's happening then? Are you having sleep paralysis during that too?
I'm going to go ahead and get into this next one. It's a little long. I mean, maybe it looks kind of long to me.
Okay.
This one is about, this post is from a Reddit post, or Quora, I'm sorry, not Reddit, Quora, that is titled, "Did you ever experience something strange in a U.S. national park?"
Okay.
And several people had responded to this post, and I found one that was kind of interesting. "My sister and I encountered something very strange and terrifying on a wilderness trail near Mount Lashin. My mother, I don't know if you say that Lassen or Lassen. My mother, younger sister Amy, and I visited Mount Lassen National Park in northeastern California.
Liaison?
Lassen,
L A I
Lassen.
S O.
No, not that one. In northeastern California in the summer of 1986. Mount Lassen is a dormant volcano that erupted early in the 20th century. There's a lot of fascinating residual geothermal activity such as fumaroles, geysers, mud spots, and hot springs associated with the recently active volcano. In some ways, it's like a mini Yellowstone geothermal zone. Outside of the immediate geothermal zone, the national park also encompasses several thousand acres of wilderness, mostly lodgepole pine forest. This event occurred during a long hike Amy and I was taking on some of the backcountry trails east of the main volcanic area beyond Cold Boiling Lake. We intended to do a 9-mile one-way hike and make our way to where we told Mom to park the car so we wouldn't have to backtrack. To keep track of where we were supposed to go, we took a good trail map with us. I also carried a compass just in case, but we never used it. We hiked south for a number of miles on a semi-forested ridge with occasional views of Mount Lassen to our right until we were within about 100 yards of the place where the connecting trail would take us west toward the parking lot only a bit over a mile away. We had already gone 8 miles at this point, and we were tired, but we had steadily drunk water from our canteens to this point where we weren't dehydrated, and were looking forward to finishing and getting back to Mom as we approached the trail that would lead us to where Mom had parked the car. Amy was the first one to notice something was not right. "Chris, I think we should turn around." She sounded very nervous, like right now. I was less concerned, and in fact a bit annoyed. "Amy, we're almost to the side trail back to the car. It's too far to hike back the way we came." She was very reluctant, but I looked off further south toward what I assumed was the imminent discovery of the side trail to the parking area. She was frightened of being alone. We were in our 20s then, me 24 and her 22, so this wasn't like the fear of a scared little kid, and caught up to me. Crowding me, she was so nervous. "Chris, please, I feel really scared here. I think we're in danger." She was almost crying. I stopped and considered her request to turn around, but then I spotted the sign a short ways up ahead, and a cairn of rocks marking the trailhead we sought in a clearing, and walked the rest of the way to it. Amy very reluctantly and closely following me into the open area near the start of the cut-off trail. When we got to the trailhead, what struck me immediately was the fact that the side trail, despite having a sign and being prominently marked on the map, was barely visible to through the grass and rocks, and it's not particularly steep. It's not particularly steep route down had to be delineated by several additional. Let me find my claims of rocks as it descended the slope to the west. It gave me the impression that hikers avoided this particular trail for some reason, despite its convenient access to a decent parking area only a mile away, the one where we had asked our mother to wait for us. The trail we were on, however, was very well defined and looked very recently used. I remember looking down and seeing clear shoe prints from several other people who had gone up beyond where we were standing. Amy wouldn't budge a step further. I sniffed the air but noticed something out of the ordinary. And I said, I don't smell any smoke, nor do I see any. Let's get going on the side trail." I thought to myself that if there was something wrong with the trail, the park rangers would have officially closed it, so I got ready to start down it despite its apparent lack of frequent use. "No, I'm not going down there. If you don't come with me right now, I'll leave you behind and go back by myself." Amy was absolutely insistent, and her voice was almost quivering with the intensity of her near hysteria. I prayed for wisdom because until that point I still had no idea why Amy was afraid. The reply to my prayer was an internal imperative to stop and listen. I promised Amy I'd go back with her, but I also told her I needed her to wait and be totally quiet for just another minute, then we could depart. After she reluctantly agreed, we both stopped talking and listened and heard nothing but silence. Not the peaceful sort, but impressively dreadful silence, totally devoid of bird song, other bird sounds, squirrels, cicadas, buzzing flies, bees, rustling leaves, or anything else one would expect to hear in the wilderness on a summer day, except the sounds of Amy and me breathing and my own heartbeat. We had emerged on the trail from a semi-shaded wooded area, mostly pines of various kinds, into a sunlit clearing about 250 yards or about 200 meters in length, with low shrubs and dry grass, and only the occasional isolated tree here and there. The main trail continued onward to our south into a densely packed stand of healthy looking green trees before disappearing into the shadows. Everything looked normal, even beautiful in a high country, alpine, woodsy sort of way, but unnaturally still and silent. The wind had inexplicably died about the same time Amy had first started getting agitated, causing our sweat from hiking to accumulate and run down our faces in the still air instead of evaporating in the dry breeze which previously had helped us keep relatively cool until that moment when she stopped. I started to notice my hair was rising up on the back of my neck as I became conscious. Let me find my place here.
Oh.
A sense of profound wrongness to what was going on. I also noticed a growing odd tension a little ways behind my ears where my neck muscles connected to the bottom of my skull, flanking the back of my neck. It quickly grew to a sensation of a cold tingling as I mentally ran through several rational explanations for what was happening, and came up wanting. Where have all the sounds of nature gone? I asked myself nervously in my thoughts as I strained to hear the faintest rustling of leaves or even the buzz of a single fly passing by. Nothing. Until 10 minutes previously, we'd been hearing the almost incessant drone of cicadas, cries of gray robber jays, random twitters from songbirds, the chattering of the occasional squirrel, and various creaks and groans of trees moving in the moderate breeze. Um, that it accompanied us for our entire hike until the moment we entered that very exposed spot on the trail where we were silently standing together, both looking south, intently listening. Even shrill whine from the mosquitoes and the buzz of an occasional biting fly following us, even through all of the prior clearings, much to our annoyance, had also completely vanished. Insects driven into hiding themselves or fleeing from an abject terror of what? The eerie, dread silence continued for about 30 more minutes, or 30 more seconds, until we heard the startlingly loud crunching and snapping sound of a large limb breaking off a tree, followed by a loud crash as it hit the ground from in front of us in that stand of trees about 200 meters away to our south. This was followed by another loud crash of a second broken off large limb falling in the same location as the first. I thought I could see the top of one of the 50-foot tall trees in the dent start swaying from side to side in the dead calm air, but hastily tore my eyes away and sought out Amy's then wide-eyed, panicky face as I realized I did not want to see whatever it was that could petrify every bird and insect into absolute silence all around us. I needed no more convincing to turn around and go back the way we came. In fact, as I heard the large limb something had broken off of a full-sized tree south of us hitting the ground, I started to feel an icy chill in the still air that caused my teeth to chatter, which I quickly silenced by firmly clamping my teeth together. This was midsummer and the temperature had been somewhere in the mid-80s for the duration of our hike to this point, but I felt like it had dropped to about 50 degrees or lower. I don't know if it actually had gotten colder, but it certainly felt like it had as the terror rose up in me and adrenaline shot into my system. I finally realized I would often feel peculiar tingling feelings that seemed to always center on two relatively small spots an inch or so behind my ears whenever I felt like I was in danger. That time, those danger sensations quickly grew so strong I felt as if dozens of spiders were running all over the entire back of my head, and that two pieces of ice were being drilled into my skull behind my ears by a pair of vibrating impact wrenches. One thought, get out of here now. Taking off at a very brisk pace, halfway between flat-footed running and a very fast speed walk, Amy and I triple-timed our way north back in the direction we had come, scared into total silence out of fear that we might catch the attention of something whose attention we did not want to catch. I was desperately praying in my heart that the Lord would protect us, and over I got the urgent impressions to keep going and to hurry. For some unknown reason, I also sensed a strong warning to not break into a full run, almost as if something would pursue us if we did. I didn't tell Amy not to run, but she sensed independently of me to not actually run, either resulting in her ultra speed walking like I was doing. I frequently stole nervous glances behind me as we went, but thankfully I saw nothing but empty trail behind us. That powerful icy tingling in the back of my ears and head continued even as I felt the air otherwise seem to grow warm again on other parts of my body. About a mile north back up the trail, I abruptly felt the oppressive blanket of fear lift to be quickly replaced by a liberating sense of peace accompanied by the thought of no more danger. Let's see. The icy tingling sensation centered behind my ears vanished with startling swiftness at the same instant. I broke silence to tell Amy to slow down. She did so willingly. We listened, and between the sounds of our panting from our sustained speed walking, we could easily hear all of the usual insect, birds, and tree sounds had returned. As if to confirm that we were okay, we both could feel the steady, warm, soothing breeze blowing on our sweaty faces. We even welcomed for once the whine of mosquitoes resuming their quest for a drop or two of our blood. In other words, life has resumed being normal, and we drank it in like someone dying from thirst would drink cool, sweet water upon finding it. When she caught her breath, Amy reiterated the intensity of her recent fear and the fact that she no longer felt any fear at all, just a sense of relief and peace like I was feeling. Chris, I really thought we were going to die back there in some sort of horrible way if we either went any further on the main trail or went down that strange cutoff trail you wanted us to use. Thank you for turning around and coming back this way. I remember her pausing. I meant what I said. If you didn't come, I was really going to leave you behind. Please forgive me, but I've never been this scared before in my entire life. I know, Amy, I understand. Sorry I didn't believe you at first. Did you hear the falling tree limbs back there and notice the fact that you couldn't hear any bugs or birds? Let me find my way. I'm sorry. I remember her pausing. Now hold on. I ventured, pointing down the trail behind us. Yes, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's just keep walking and get back to Mom, okay? Okay, I said. We were pretty tired and sore when we got back, having to do 16 miles, maybe 19 or 20 miles since we had to walk down the road several miles to where Mom had parked the car, in addition to completely backtracking the trail rather than the planned 9, and Mom was worried about us when we didn't show up where and when we said we would, east of where she parked, and instead showed up hiking along the road from the north. We told her of our experience, and she was glad we had listened to our instincts and had done the right thing. Despite having bad blisters and extremely sore legs, the rest of our time at Mount Lassen was interesting and fun, and thank God nothing else scary, supernatural, or bad happened to us. I looked online for all trail maps of Mount Lassen Volcanic National Park so I could post an image and point out to the readers where we had hiked, and discovered that the trail we had taken was no longer visible on any of the map images I could find on the internet. Cold Boiling Lake was still there, not too far from Bump as Hell, and 2 trails split off, but I clearly recalled 3 trails, the third being the one we took that first went east a couple of miles before turning south towards somewhere just outside the park boundary. Why was that particular trail abandoned? I never found out what we had almost encountered, and I'm glad we never did.
Hmm.
That's what I got. I know it was a little longer than my usual story, but it was interesting. I don't know if you guys have any experiences in any national parks of anything crazy going on. We know there's a lot of crazy things that do go on in national parks.
But just hearing things, you can scare yourself just hearing things out in the wild.
You
know what I
can,
mean?
but
Like it may have been like nothing. It could have been.
and a lot of times your body will tell you things too that you can't
I
see.
mean, it does. That's true.
You and I have heard things and not seen things like.
Yeah, but I wasn't scared. I was.
You were close enough to home. You probably weren't. If that
Maybe why,
had that have
yeah.
happened, if we were like 50
That's true.
miles away from civilization,
Knowing there was
been,
like, I'm
that
stuck
would have
here.
been scary.
Yeah, that would be
That
scary.
was kind of scary back
yeah.
there. But,
That was strange.
Just to fill you guys in, we were down on our trail. If you watch our other videos, we own a little bit of property we go down on. We've had some strange things happen on. But we were down there. I believe I had a stick, and maybe I was doing some wood knocks or something like that.
I hate that so much.
It's silly. I don't know why I do it, but I did it, and it sounded like an elephant was getting ready to. It was running through the woods. It was about to pop out the tree line,
thing I can
right where we were at.
Like something large.
And I was just stood there, frozen, looking, like waiting.
To be attacked by a bear or something.
There's nothing over there. Not a thing. Nothing. And it's not the first time I've heard things down there.
That's happened a couple of times down there.
And I've seen leaves moving around me, like something running around me in circles.
Right, with no wind.
In the wintertime. It's no wind at all. Like I thought it was, I've seen leaves move and had a light on it and poked it with my stick and there's nothing there. I don't know.
It could be elemental.
But anyway, do you got another story you want to share tonight? Because we're already...
This is actually, again, this is probably something that a lot of people have heard about as well. It's actually, some people call it the, what's the word? Hold on. What's the word?
I don't know the word, man. I don't even know.
Like the Holy Grail. I'm sorry, like the Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail?
Yeah, the Holy Grail of like, alien abductions. I don't know if I would agree with this.
You don't know about the Holy Grail, right?
Yeah. There's better.
Man. That's saying a lot.
But maybe back in the day, it was.
Okay.
And I just clicked off of it.
Click back on it, man.
I don't know which one.
Give me just the Internet of Things, man. Click on it.
How did I just lose that? Wait a minute. I have...
You wrote it down.
I do have the...
And like I said, if you guys want to check any of these stories or links out, I will leave them in the description box. As always, and you guys can check them out by yourself.
So this was actually like titled Holy Grail or Epic Hoax. Australian Kelly Cahill?
Kelly Cahill.
Kelly Cahill's UFO abduction story still stirs passion. That's the title.
Most of them do, right?
Okay. Let's see. Okay. If her story is to be believed, on August 7th, 1993, Gippsland woman Kelly Cahill saw a UFO and beings from another world. This was in Australia. As detailed in her book, 1996 book, Encounter, Miss Cahill's case had all the hallmarks of the classic alien abduction story of the era. Lost time, strange spaceships, bright lights, inhuman creatures, and inexplicable marks on her body. But her story had something other alien visitations didn't. Independent witnesses who could potentially back up her story. Along with her then husband Andrew, who was in the car with her on that fateful night on Melbourne's southeastern fringes. They were reportedly 4 other people in 2 separate cars who would be able to verify her otherworldly claims. Because of its multiple witnesses, the incident was held as the holy grail of alien abduction stories by UFO researchers and enthusiasts. All right. Hold on. Let me find where the story actually started. Sorry. Okay. According to Miss Cahill, she and her then husband Andrew were driving along the Belgrave Hallam Road in Nair Warren. I don't know. I could be saying this wrong. I don't know. Like I said, it's Australia. On that fateful winter's night in 1993. They were en route to a friend's house when Miss Cahill saw in a paddock a row of 5 or 6 large orange lights on a distinct circular shape. Like nothing I'd ever seen before, she wrote in her book. When they arrived at their destination, her husband and friends, and eventually even Miss Cahill, laughed it off. But about midnight, driving home on the same road, she and Andrew apparently saw what she believed to be the same lights hanging above the road. I could then see that the orange lights were really windows. I could make out figures standing behind the portals, Miss Cahill wrote. The object flew off at incredible speed, but soon after, they saw it again in a paddock on the side of the road, Miss Cahill said. After that, Miss Cahill's memory blanked. like a cut to scene in a film, and their car had traveled several hundred meters down the road without them knowing. In the days and weeks that followed, she claimed to find strange marks on her body, including a small triangular wound below her belly button, and began experiencing stomach pains and night visitations from tall black hooded figures with lightly glowing red eyes. Through hypnosis, she said she was able to unlock her missing time. Her husband had pulled over, and they'd got out of the car to get a better look at the brightly lit object in the paddock. Further back up the road, another car had parked, its occupant standing at the edge of the field. A tall, thin figure appeared in front of the object, and Miss Cahill heard in her mind its thoughts, "Let's kill them." More beings appeared, unleashing an energy force that knocked Miss Cahill to the ground as she screamed to her husband, "They've got no souls. They're evil. They're going to kill us." And that's where her recollections end, but not the story. The investigation begins. Sydney-based researcher Bill Chalker of the UFO Investigation Center was one of the first people Miss Cahill contacted after that night. Mr. Chalker immediately thought it a fairly important case, but one that required a lot of feet on the ground and a lot of intensive field investigation. Mr. Chalker alerted a loosely connected Melbourne group of paranormal investigators called the Phenomena Research Australia, the PRA, led by then director John Otchet. Mr. Otchet interviewed Miss Cahill many times and examined the scene of the alleged sighting near Umemmering Creek. He and the PRA placed an ad in local newspapers in an effort to find the occupants of the second car. Remarkably, they got a response, and Mr. Otchet said the stories from the second car were identical to Miss Cahill's, but went even further, detailing experiences inside the mysterious craft where they were strapped to a table and examined by the beings. According to the PRA, the woman had the same triangular wounds near their navels, as well as other strange marks. There was even talk of a third car driven by a local lawyer, the PRA discovered, whose story also lined up. The researchers began prepping an exhaustive 300-page report that promised to reveal the truth. Eventually, the media got wind of the story, and Miss Cahill appeared on TV current affairs show Today Tonight. Her story also ran in newspapers and magazines. By 1996, she was a big name on the UFO circuit, a series of talks and conferences that thrived. And with every appearance, Miss Cahill unveiled new tidbits from the PRA's forthcoming report. Her book, published by HarperCollins, sold out and was quickly reprinted, and it's currently out of print, and copies sell for $150 online. I mean, that's basically the story. The report has still never come out. Evidently, that the man lost contact with Miss Cahill, and all the witnesses, they can't be found now. And they're afraid of, like, when they release it, well, no, it's not the ridicule, but everything that's going to come with it is all going to be on them. They're just going to be hammered with questions, and all of it's going to come back on them because they can't find the people. So, but it has been shortened to 100 pages instead of the 300.
Like with Bob Lazar, I know he faced a lot of intimidation from
somebody.
Government figures, supposedly. Who knows who these people are? I'll tell you who the people are. They're the people that don't want us to have the 0 point energy.
Yeah.
It's that group of people, man. I don't know who you are, but you guys make the world a worse place.
They want us stuck here.
Yeah, well, we're stuck.
They know we leave.
Good job, guys. Good
Just
job.
playing it.
You guys suck, by the way. Also, I want to apologize. I think our last video, the audio might have been off from the video a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I think
my computer was being a dick last weekend.
I hate that, too. I can't stand to see a video that's like that.
So my apologies. Somehow,
if this one is like that.
Somehow we picked up a subscriber. Thank you so much for subscribing. And also, if you guys don't care, make sure you hit the like button for us. It helps us out a whole lot. And also share our videos. This information is important to get out. And People should be made aware of these things, especially when it comes down to what the government's hiding for. Is when it's all about greed and making money. Shit really pisses me off. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. If you guys got a story you want to email to us, again, our email address is hillshadowsky@yahoo.com. I don't think I have anything else for you guys tonight. Do you have anything else for them?
I have one more little story that I could read really quick.
Ashley's coming with extra ammo tonight. Let's hear it.
It's actually a story that was off Reddit that I think somebody else had wrote about.
You have wrote down the links to these?
I did.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I know you'll lose them once you...
No, I've got them all wrote. Actually, I won't lose this because it's on my Christmas, checkoff list for the kids. So I'm not going to lose that. So I do have...
Okay.
Each story has its own
Is this also an alien type?
It is.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, I was on alien stuff. But yeah, so this was... I'm guessing another researcher or something had made a list of stories from
before
Reddit.
You do that.
Uh-huh.
You alien stuff we gotta talk about. I did a tattoo on myself last night of a dude being abducted, right?
I like you needed to.
It's cool, man. I like it. I'm proud of my tattoo. But yes, go ahead. Let's hear it.
Another researcher found these and made a list and wrote a little article about it. And this is me reading one of those.
So you're reading the list from a researcher.
Well, I'm reading one from the list. Okay. And she titled it, or maybe the other person did, I don't know, It Left a Mark.
It left a mark?
It left a mark. Uh-huh. One night, Hiroki swords?
I ain't gonna even touch that one.
Hiroki?
That sounds right.
Something like that.
You're probably close.
And their then wife had the same dream. They dreamt they were flying into a brightly lit gas station-like structure that ended in a wall. Another dream they shared was one where she was lying on a table in a room, screaming, and he was watching her, unable to intervene. In the morning, they saw she had strange three-pronged markings on her thighs, almost as if she had been touched by a creature with 3 fingers on each hand. She later would tell him of a strange experience she had as a child, in which she was riding her bike in her village. Suddenly, the pedals stopped working. She saw a flash of light and looked up to see a strange creature, like a giant praying mantis wearing a robe, coming out of the forest. She regained consciousness several hours later with no idea what had happened. Strange things happened all the times in their household. Cell phones malfunctioned, circuit breakers, light bulbs constantly needed to be replaced. Eventually, the two broke up, and now Hiroki Swords lives in the States and is married to another man and no longer experiences strange phenomena. I don't know, I just thought that was an interesting little thing.
That is cool.
Because the praying mantis one, that is...
Well, one thing you said...
type of alien people have seen.
Another thing you said that popped up in another story is the 3-pronged marks.
Yeah.
I feel like that or a triangle-shaped wound or scar is quite common when it comes to alien abductees. Yeah, and what else? What else is my observation there? I don't know. Well, yeah, the insecticide.
Right.
The insecticide. I said insecticide. Insectoid, whatever type creature.
I would not want to see that.
That's supposed to be, I think they say the Fresno crawlers might be the,
really?
The footage I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The things with the
legs. That does not look like a praying mantis.
Well, they say that they have, it's because they have some type of suit on. It's like a cloak or a robe or something. It's like, that's why it looks like that. Like maybe they need them to breathe in the Earth's atmosphere or something like that. But yeah, that's it, man. Well, we just lost video. That sucks because I was getting ready to do like 1, 2, to match it up.
Yeah.
Well,
okay, wrap it up.
You guys will be hearing this on the audio anyway. We just lost video. Sorry about that, but I'll try to make sure what we have is at least matched up with the audio, and hopefully you guys have had a good time with us tonight. Thank you for joining us, and if you're not already a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. And if you have a story, why email us. You don't even really have to tell the story. If you just want to say hi or something, you can email us hillshadowsky@yahoo.com. This has been the Hill Shadows podcast. I have been your host, Jeremiah, and I will see you guys next week.